Hey everyone, this is Grant with Spectra Racing. So this is the review of the 3-day racing school with Primal Racing at Atlanta Motorsports Park. So first off to start, the Primal Racing School, I did the 3-day course. There's a couple different courses that are available, and we're going to do reviews of the other two, the single and the 2-day courses later on. But as far as the facilities themselves, so the racing school is located at Atlanta Motorsports Park. I have honestly never seen a nicer facility than AMP. I've been to a lot of the courses in the southeast in Florida and even some further away. I'm not going to name names, but most of them are older. You know, they got portalets, older facilities, no food on site, those types of things. This facility is brand new. Now it is more expensive to race there, obviously, but they have cheaper events you can go to. Okay, so day one at Atlanta Motorsports Park was, first thing is, you kind of go to overview the program, you meet the instructors. A bunch of the instructors were professional racing drivers. Awesome, informative guys. They actually kind of started in different ways. Some of them more traditional ways, go-karting and those types of things. Whereas one of them actually started off doing like sim racing. And so he was very data-oriented. So it was just fantastic to learn their background. But as far as the actual event, so the first event was the brake test. So the brake test, they have a fleet of BMW 3 Series with the M package brakes, I believe. The first was just to kind of learn the limits of ABS and kind of get your brake pressure kind of normalized and to learn what it feels like to hit ABS. So you get on this course, you have to stop in a stop box, you get on the brake and then kind of very quickly but gently let off. You don't want to stab the brake and then let off because kind of you want smooth transitions. Moving on from that, the next test was the slalom. Now me has been autocrossing for 7 years. This was pretty easy. We just took one of the BMWs and did a slalom test. This was more of car control, no diff grip. One of the things I found particularly interesting that they actually learned was to race with potato chips in their hands, so you're not death gripping the steering wheel. So I might have to try that sometimes because I do have a habit of sometimes death gripping the steering wheel. So next up was the skid pad, and oh my god, I've always wanted to do a skid pad. The skid pad was just a ton of fun. So it was downhill through some waterfalls into this circular kind of sprinkly thing. So the first course they set up is you go downhill and you turn the wheel hard to left to feel what it looks like to go, full understeer where the car pushes forward, even though you're trying to turn in one direction. And then when you get down the hill, they want to teach you oversteer. So, you stab the gas and spin it around. And one of the things, that obviously this is to kind of teach you car control in a slow, safe, controlled manner versus doing it at like 100 miles an hour. But I actually found it a little bit difficult. I can slide my personal car, my Mustang, pretty easily, but this surface was so slick. So next up after that, we did the Radical overview. So basically, they just teach you about the Radical SR1, which is a single or double seater, Hayabusa powered race car. So they kind of went over, how to get in, how to turn on the vehicle. In these cases, it's a motorcycle transmission, so it's not able to go in reverse, so you have to really understand that if you spin it, you have to put clutch in. And with these cars, they have a clutch, but it's still semi-automatic, so once you get it going, then you don't have to use the clutch. But you have to remember that if you stop and stall. So on top of that, being it was a Hayabusa, they revved to 9,700 RPM, I believe. So it was just nuts driving it on track, and I'm used to, like 6,000 RPM red line. So after the Radical overview, we kind of fitted for racing gear. I already just actually bought my own, so that wasn't a big deal. But they do have a great selection if you don't have the ability to try someone else's suit on or try a bunch of other things on. It was a great opportunity to see what you like and what fits you good. And they also have like racing seats there, all the kind of FIA and mandatory rated hardware you need for professional racing. So after we got fitted for the racing gear, it was the first time in the Radicals. They kept warning us that you're going to stall the car. So I only stalled it once on the first day, thankfully. When you start to get going, you have to let your foot off the clutch pedal and hold it. So it's a little weird. And then the motorcycle transmission catches and you slowly go, and then you can let your foot off the pedal. So that was a little strange to get used to. The cars themselves were pretty standard. They were a little kind of stiff, carbon fiber seat, no padding, the 5-point harness and those types of things. So One of the things I found a little annoying is sometimes we would get not assigned the same car each time, so I think that's something they can improve on. This program is only in its infancy, so a lot of this feedback like I'm providing I think can really help them. So as far as our first time in the Radical, we just did a lead follow where we follow one of the instructors, so it's a one-on-one opportunity with the instructor, and so you can just follow his racing line and get to know the course. So I really like, one of the things they set up, as you'll notice on this video here, is they set up all your turn-in markers and apex markers. So there's no guesswork. You know, a lot of times when you're out there with an instructor, he'll be like, turn there, and yeah, brake here, and turn in there. And it's, if you don't have kind of a visual memory, it's kind of hard to remember those things when you get out there, especially with someone pointing right in front of your face. This way, there's no one else in the car with you, there's no distractions. You just need to go where he went. So after the lead follow exercise we did, we just walked the track. So it's long, lots of elevations. They actually took us around on the carts for some of the, you know, the big uphill segments, and they pointed out all the little impurities in the road, which AMP is probably one of the nicest tracks. So there's barely any except for one or two of the turns. All the little markers you want to look out for, all the little kind of minute details you'll want to know on track. So on to the second day. So the second day started off with lots of Radical seat time. So one of the big benefits of this program is there is just a lot of seat time. You are really getting your money's worth. I mean, just the amount of time we had in the Radicals was just awesome. I've never driven such a more intense sports car like those things. But anyway, so to start off with day two, the Radical, we did more lead follow, where you follow your instructor and make sure you're on the racing line, and you pull back into the pits. They'll come over, talk to you what you're doing wrong, what you can improve on. So after we did that a few times, we did what's called a wounded buffalo exercise. So that's kind of where we practice safe passing. There were about 3 of us following an instructor. And we just take turns falling back, getting into position, do that a couple times. And then we took turns doing more traditional style passing, you know, point bys, and or just taking turns overtaking different folks. So after about the afternoon of that, actually when I did it, it started raining pretty badly. They do run the Radicals on street tires, so it was a little fun, but a little scary and a little sideways. But, you know, driving in the rain is something that can happen. So I actually found it as a great opportunity. Somehow in 7 years of autocrossing, I've only done 3 rain events. I have no idea how that's happened. I've done something like 70 events. So I cherish any kind of rain driving training I can get. So now that it was raining, we moved on to the go-karts. So they have a dedicated go-kart track at Atlanta Motorsports Park, and it had to be one of the most fun go-kart experiences I've had in my life, if not the best. You know, I'm more of the traditional kind of go-karter, not really professional. Where I used to work, there was one of those carnival places. I used to go after work all the time, get kicked out for pitting some 7-year-old kid. Oh well. But so what we did with go-karting is we kind of practiced our side-by-side exercises. So you'll notice here in this footage, you know, we have to find someone next to us and drive throughout the whole track next to them. So it was a little difficult because of pouring rain. You know, the go-karts are on slick tires, so spinning out, you know, it really added to the difficulty of that, and I found it very challenging and enjoying. So after the side-by-side exercises, we just kind of did open lapping. That go-kart track, you can go fast. It was a ton of fun. I see this here. I did this 360 on accident, trying to hold the apex there, perfectly crest of the ridge line, and then it started getting on me. One of the things to teach you is called CPR. It's called correct, pause, recover. Well, you know, you don't want to just dab the wheel the other way. You want to try and correct, pause, and then recover. Well, in this case, it just kind of spun on me, but it kind of spun back into the direction I wanted to go. So after the go-karts, it actually started raining really hard, so it was a great opportunity to get into the simulator. So they have a full tilt boogie simulator thing, you know, 3 TV screens all hooked up to hydraulic actuators, where you can drive one of the nicer Radicals, one of the faster ones on Road Atlanta. They were working on getting R Factor 2, which is available on Steam if you play PC games like me. R Factor 2 has Atlanta Motorsports Park on it. They only had R Factor 1 at the time, so we were playing on Road Atlanta, which I've been to a bunch of times, so I actually had the best time of the day at Road Atlanta. So it goes to show you that I may not have had the fastest real lap time of the day, but my issue, I guess, is just fear of death. I don't know. One of the things about the simulator I think they could improve on is they were using me being a techno geek, They're using 60 hertz TVs, 60 FPS in a simulator, not good. Gotta have like 144 frames a second, especially you are really close to those TV screens, so any kind of lag or any of those things, not good. But it was still an awesome opportunity. So that was the end of day 2. Let's move on to day 3. Okay, so day 3 began with more radical lead follow. So like I said, following your instructor, getting the racing line. So after some more lead follow, we took a break and went to the Skidpad, and this time we set up kind of an autocross course through the Skidpad, which was actually very challenging. After the Skidpad, we moved on to kind of the more advanced racing drills that we did. So we did racing starts. So what would happen is we use our experience from the go-karts, and you go side by side behind the pace car, going around the track. When you get the green flag, you go, and then we practice a restart. You know, if there's an incident on the track, you get behind the pace car again, and a race restart, same thing. So one of the things they were doing while we were starting and restarting is in between we'd have open lapping, and they would throw flags at you. So they threw, you know, like a meatball flag at you, which is, hey, there's something wrong with your car. Threw a black flag at you, just come in. And they would just test you to make sure you were paying attention to the flag stations and you knew what the flags meant. Quarter of the day, last hour or two was just kind of open lapping, where you get to go out on track. And they did have the instructors out there, so what they do is when you're open lapping, the instructor would get in front of you, flash his instructor light, and let you know that, hey, he's an instructor, so he'd follow you for a little bit of time, and then they might throw a flag at you, have you come in, tell you what you're doing great, what you're doing wrong, what you can do better. Each of the 3 days, we had plenty of classroom session where they went over, you know, each of the kind of things we're doing, obviously. But day 3 I found really fascinating. They went over a lot of data, especially what the radicals have on how, for instance, if you're not using the right brake pedal pressure, you can actually sacrifice, you know, a tenth of a second each corner. Well, you know, a tenth of a second on a 16 turn course, you know, that adds up to almost, you know, 1.6 seconds, and that'll make or break you in a professional series. So that was kind of the end of the 3-day program. So, you know, during these 3 days, you know, they had lunch each day, and at the end of the day, they had a nice dinner with drinks and everything, champagne. So to kind of summarize the event, some of the good things I really liked, you know, the techniques they taught you. A lot of, you know, from some of the really basic things that I didn't even think about, like placing your hands in the correct position on the steering wheel. I was actually placing my hands just a little bit too high, you know, kind of using the potato chip method if you're using death grip. So the Skidpad, I loved the Skidpad time. The instructor skill, you know, these guys are professional race car drivers. They deal with, you know, realistic things that happen to them on their racing course, and, you know, this is their job. So they really know their stuff. Track itself, super clean. All the, you know, markers and everything there were nice. They have a full FIA light system, so they don't have just corner workers. They actually only have like 1 or 2 corner workers actually. It's all the lit up FIA lights. So some of the things I think they can improve on is, like I was saying earlier, you did not have a dedicated car sometimes, so getting in a different car each time. All the radicals, you know, are kind of bespoke cars. They're all built a little bit differently. So I feel like having kind of a dedicated car would, you know, you get used to it over the 3 days versus having to get used to a little bit different car each time. And I think lastly, which they actually are going to add, is more communication on track, having like a headset type device or something like that, I think would really help. So that was it for the 3-day racing course. Like I said, it was a ton of fun. I highly recommend doing a course like this. You will not be able to drive these types of sports cars in other racing schools. I know a lot of the other racing schools have you drive like Hellcats or kind of, you know, sports cars. These radicals can pull 1.9 Gs. Actually, I found out during this event that I definitely couldn't be a pro racing driver, because after about an hour and a half on track on one section, I got car sick. So never get car sick before, but pulling those Gs is just nuts, and it was just a blast, and it's something you will not be able to do anywhere else outside of this program. That being said, we have partnered with Primal now. So if you are interested in the program, make sure to go on our website and you can sign up for one of the 3 different types of racing courses. Well, that's it. Thanks for watching.